Like, black people are notorious for naming their children 25-letter names.
Says Leatherneck Lolita. Girl, you better go find you something to do. Because that neck is looking like my great-granny's old pleather couch without the plastic.
Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe, and if you are a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. It's so good to have you here. Welcome back. So, as usual, my disclaimer, please, this video is strictly for educational purposes. Do not go searching out anybody that I talk about in this video. Don't send them any form of hate comment, threats, or violence. This channel does not support any of that. So, I came across this video where a palm-colored woman had something to say about black people. Let me just go right ahead and play her video.
Like, black people are notorious for naming their children 25-letter names that they're never going to get even pronounced right, let alone spelled right. Like, why would you do that?
Do you know why they actually do that? The reason for that is because during slavery, their identities were taken away. So they had to have unique names in order to identify their offspring when they were sold from different plantations. So that came down generationally as generational trauma.
Okay, well, how about now? Isn't that sort of trauma for that poor kid that's never going to have his name spelled right?
Only to your standards. Like, what is...
If I were that child, I wouldn't want my name misspelled all the way through or mispronounced by people.
That's because people can't take the time to pronounce it correctly.
Whatever.
You can say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, but you can't say Jaquan. Are you kidding me?
Okay, whatever the result is, the poor child does not have his name pronounced correctly or spelled correctly.
Because people do not take the time. You can take the extra 2 seconds to do it, but instead you're sitting here making fun of a whole culture of people for things that they didn't have a choice on.
Do you have a name that gets misspelled a lot?
I sure don't. Well, because my mom whitewashed my name.
So that's racist.
This is not a new conversation about how black people's ethnic names are difficult to pronounce. Somehow they think black people's names are just uncomfortable for them to try to actually pronounce the right way, and they often pronounce our names wrong. So this is not a new conversation, but one thing that struck me is that this conversation is actually happening under the rain, and I'm wondering like how comfortable it is to be having that kind of conversation under the rain. Is it such an important topic to this woman that she just had to discuss it in that situation? I have no idea. But anyway, people made videos replying to her, and let's just go right ahead and hear what people had to say.
Trauma.
Okay, well, how about now? Isn't that sort of trauma for that poor kid that's never going to have his name spelled right?
So you mean to tell me we can say Mariska Hargitay, Mikhail Gorbachev, Martina Navratilova, Rob Gronkowski, anti-disestablishmentarianism, but your soggy ass can't say Marquita. Okay, Beth.
Their children 25-letter names that
Karen. What I hate is that a lot of people will have these biases takes about, oh, black people will give their names this ethnic uniqueness, not realizing the historical context of why it's there in the first place. It's because mothers knew that there was a likely chance that that child would be taken away from her, and she gave that child a unique particular name so that if there's some chance in the future that they're reignited, they know that this is mother and this is son, or this is mother and this is daughter, or father, and what's not. And for you not to know that, and then you be told in this exact video that situation, and for you to just go, I don't really care. Then on top of that, the crazy part is you guys can pronounce every other name. You can do the Germans, the Swiss names, all of these other names that have 20-something, you know what I'm saying, letters in their names. You have no problem with pronouncing those names all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. But if you come in and that person has an ethnic name that is black, you got an issue with it, or you can't pronounce it, or you're asking them to change it to something that's easier for you to pronounce, as if their name don't have value, it don't have power behind it, but you're trying to diminish it because you don't want to say their name correctly. And this is my issues with Karens all the time, is that you guys live in this vacuum of a space thinking that you think you know something, and even when you're confronted with the truth, you choose to ignore it. This is wild to me. This is wild to me. And what I wish and hope and pray is that as we blast you on the internet, and I hope this does also as well affect your employment as well, because if you think this way, how do you see your coworkers? How do you see black people in general? Do you look at them favorable? Do you see them as people, or do you see them as less than? Because you don't even want to pronounce their given names. Wake up. It's 2024. We're not doing this anymore.
Black people are notorious for naming their children 25-letter names.
This isn't my usual content, but I had to speak on this. Let me give you some context. My name is 5 letters, and it's been mispronounced my entire life. 3 syllables, 5 letters, and most times I have to correct people on how to say it correctly. Now, this is no shade to anyone that has a very unique, creative name. But Ilana, I've been called Alana, Ileana, Elena. 5 letters. But you can pronounce Steinberg. Okay. Karen, say what you saying.
During slavery, their identities were taken away. So they had to have unique names in order to identify their offspring when they were sold from different plantations. So that came down generationally as generational trauma.
That's not true at all. I'm Walt, founder of the Bristol English Project. I help descendants of American chattel slavery with their genealogy, so I come across a lot of names. Historical context always matters. How would somebody who was barred from reading and writing English decide, hey, I'm going to name my child Ubiquitous, and I'm going to be able to find this child on multiple plantations in case they're sold, even though I don't know where they're going? When I hear white people talk like that, I believe they think black people just thought they were going to be enslaved forever, and they still don't understand how we liberated ourselves and then even found each other after slavery, taking our ass. We took our ass looking for each other. Don't y'all think it's a lot easier to have easier names that they can learn how to spell so they can find their family? And yes, some people did have unique names. And it wasn't something that was developed in slavery. Sometimes liberation looks like, I'm going to bring something from home and you can't do shit about it. Those names had African origins. Everything didn't start with slavery. The way that we used our names in history holds way too much weight to be watered down to try to make this white woman feel bad. Well, they're educating her. Well, somebody need to educate them. Go love yourselves. Donate to the Bristol English Project.
Whitewashed my name. So that's racist.
You know, I'm seeing a pattern here when sane people are arguing the Karens of the world. I can look in your pupils and see that there's something ringing off in your brain. You know you're wrong, but you don't want to admit it. So instead of just listening and learning, you still spill out ignorant rhetoric. Now, there was a sane woman off camera giving you the history of why we have our names. We want our own identity. She was laying it out for you and you weren't listening. Now, you've seen the name Jaquan because that's the name that she brought up, Jaquan. And you said it's spelled wrong? No, it's spelled right. It's spelled the way we want to spell it. You have no way of dictating how we spell our names. You don't know our African culture. See, if we had the last name Miller or Johnson, it'd be okay, right? But when you see the name Rashawn, or if you see the name X, you feel threatened, right? There's a lot that you don't know and you could learn something. But the real question is, why are you so worried about us? Why are all of you so worried about how we spell our names or the things that we do? You're worried because we are gaining power. You're worried because we're learning our truth, and you know the truth. When you see the name Jaquan and you're buying an album and he's telling you to get tipsy, that's okay, right? When you see whatever name you saw that ruffled your feathers at a football game or a basketball game, it's okay. So, how long has our names, our identity been bothering you, YT woman? And why? You know why. And we know why.
25-letter names that they're never going to get even pronounced right, let alone spelled right.
The fake concern for it being spelled or pronounced correctly is hilarious. This is my name. Not short for nothing. It's not said differently than it looks. It's just Maggie. Never has it been spelled correctly. And there's people who don't even know how to fucking say it. There's people who genuinely ask me, how is that pronounced? We're in America, babe. There's little white girls out here running around named Harrington and Oakley in Utah with bigger fucking issues. Bigger white fish to fry.
If your name is Contavious, Shaniqua, or Lakeitha, this lady is calling you out.
Like, black people are notorious for naming their children 25-letter name. For that poor kid that's never going to...
Before I get to the actual meat of the conversation they were having, I have to address the context. They are sitting in the rain discussing black people's names. Now, as a black man with the name Navarro, which many people butcher, much to my surprise, I do get this lady's point, but I wouldn't change my name for anything in the world. And obviously, I don't speak for black people with unique names, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't change their name either. And I will say, most people acknowledge it may be a disadvantage when you're putting in a job application or when you want other people to pronounce it. But really, who really cares? Me personally, I'm kind of glad that my name is unique and many people don't hear it, therefore can't say it correctly. Because if I had a name like Connor or Wyatt, I would feel like an NPC. Like there's 100 of those. But regardless of all that, I don't think that this lady is racist at all. She actually has a valid point. If you wanted your kid to have a quote unquote easier life in America, you would make their name a more Caucasian name. But that doesn't mean that if you don't have a quote unquote Caucasian name, that people can't take an extra 5 seconds to learn to pronounce it and not judge you off of it. But that's just my 2 cents. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Do you think it's racist for her to say these types of things? Or do you think she's making valid points? What do you disagree with? What do you agree with? Let me know.
At this point, it is a given that some particular set of people always find a way to pick on the names black people choose to give their children as part of their cultural identity. And when it comes to African Americans, the fact that African Americans already had their names and identity and their culture taken away from them, and they had to find a way to create their own culture. The fact that black people had to create names that hold a specific kind of meaning to them and unique to them as well, and still some people still have a problem with this, is wild to me. First of all, African American people's last names are very likely names that were given to them by their slave owners, so they are already bearing names that are foreign to them as their last names. So they are trying to actually create a culture for themselves, make something distinct for themselves by giving themselves unique names that can be unique to them and the culture and identity that they now have in America. And you still have a problem with it. I have no idea why. And on a larger scale, it is not even just African Americans that complain about this purposeful mispronunciation of black names. Even a lot of Africans have complained about this as well. Just like in this other video that I made, where this Nigerian British doctor's name was mispronounced, and she made it a point of duty to insist that the lady in question pronounced her name right before they continued with the interview. You guys, that video gave me so much joy. Go and check it out if you have not seen it. So obviously this is something that they do, and it is not just black people that have long names or names with several syllables or names that are not very easy to pronounce. It is not a black people thing. So why is it always a point of discussion when it has to do with black people? I personally think it's just a disregard and lack of respect for black people. They do not care to acknowledge our identity and our uniqueness and our culture and languages that are specific to us, because it takes a certain level of disregard for you not to put the effort into learning how to pronounce a person's name correctly, and you just say whatever comes to your mind. There are people who will purposely mispronounce your name no matter how many times you tell them the right way to pronounce it, because they do not respect you enough or see any humanity in you or see any desire to respect your culture and your identity as a person. Now, this aside, but still related, can we talk about how when some certain applications, maybe you're seeking for a job or admission into school or whatever, and you feel your ethnic specific African name or black name on a form, that black name could be a disadvantage. But if you put a name that is closer to white, the likelihood of you getting a positive response or callback or feedback is higher. So the closer to white your name is, the very likely that you're going to do well when it comes to all these applications where they probably cannot tell that you are a black person. And I think this is why a lot of black people try to answer these white names, white sounding names, or they generally just whitewash their names, or maybe they even put the short forms of their names just to make it comfortable for these palm color people who really do not care about black names or black people even in general. At the end of the day, I understand why people are saying this lady is a Karen, and her asking this question also could indicate that she's a racist. I understand where this is coming from, because for you to say that definitely indicates that you have no respect for the culture, the humanity, the value of black people, to understand and accept the fact that they have their own identity and their names which have specific meaning and value to them. And at the end of the day, there are other palm color people around the world of different cultures who have names that are equally difficult to pronounce for English speakers. So why don't you go tackling those other people who are palm colored like you, but you're all the way in black folks' business? Anyway, you guys let me know what you think. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. I know the comment section will be filled with people talking about how their names are simple but yet still get mispronounced. Share your stories in the comment section. Let's just have a conversation. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.